And now to the next thing, what it is to pray with the Spirit, and to pray with understanding also. For the Apostle puts a clear distinction between praying with the Spirit and praying with the Spirit and understanding. Therefore, when he saith, he will pray with the Spirit, he adds, and I will pray with the understanding also. This distinction was occasioned through the Corinthians not observing that it was their duty to do what they did to the edification of themselves and others too, whereas they did it for their own commendations. So I judge, for many of them have extraordinary gifts as to speak with divers tongues and etc. Therefore they were more for those mighty gifts than they were for the edifying of their brethren, which was the cause that Paul wrote this chapter to them, to let them understand that though extraordinary gifts were excellent, yet to do what they did to the edification of the church was more excellent. For, saith the Apostle, if I pray in an unknown tongue, my spirit prayeth, but my understanding, and also the understanding of others, is unfruitful. According to 1 Corinthians 14 and verses 3, 4, 12, 19, 24, and 25. Read the scope of the whole chapter. Therefore I will pray with the Spirit, and I will pray with the understanding also. It is expedient, then, that the understanding should be occupied in prayer, as well as the heart and mouth. I will pray with the Spirit, and I will pray with understanding also. That which is done with understanding is done more effectually, sensibly, and heartily, as I shall show farther anon, than that which is done without it, which made the Apostle pray for the Colossians, that God would fill them with the knowledge of his will in all wisdom and spiritual understanding, according to Colossians 1 and verse 9. And for the Ephesians, that God would give unto them the spirit of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of him, according to Ephesians 1 and verse 17. And so for the Philippians, that God would make them abound in knowledge and in all judgment, according to Philippians 1 and verse 9. A suitable understanding is good in everything a man undertakes, either civil or spiritual, and therefore it must be desired by all them that would be a praying people. In my speaking to this, I shall show you what it is to pray with understanding. Understanding is to be taken both for speaking in our mother tongue and also experimentally. I pass the first and treat only on the second. For the making of right prayers, it is to be required that there should be a good or spiritual understanding in all them who pray to God. First, to pray with understanding is to pray as being instructed by the Spirit in the understanding of the want of those things which the soul is to pray for. Though a man be in never so much need of pardon of sin and deliverance from wrath to come, yet if he understand not this, he will either not desire them at all, or else be so cold and lukewarm in his desires after them, that God will even loathe his frame of spirit in asking for them. Thus it was with the church of the Laodiceans. They wanted knowledge or spiritual understanding. They knew not that they were poor, wretched, blind, and naked, the cause whereof made them, and all their services, so loathsome to Christ that he threatens to spew them out of his mouth, according to Revelation 3 and verses 16 and 17. Men without understanding may say the same words in prayer as others do, but if there be an understanding in the one and none in the other, there is a mighty difference in speaking the very same words. The one speaking from a spiritual understanding of those things that he in words desires, and the other words it only, and there is all. Second, spiritual understanding espieth in the heart of God a readiness and willingness to give those things to the soul that it stands in need of. David by this could guess at the very thoughts of God towards him, according to Psalm 40 and verse 5. And thus it was with the woman of Canaan. She did by faith, and a right understanding discern beyond all the rough carriage of Christ, tenderness and willingness in his heart to save, which caused her to be vehement and earnest, yea, restless, until she did enjoy the mercy she stood in need of, according to Matthew 15 and verses 22 through 28. An understanding of the willingness that is in the heart of God to save sinners, there is nothing will pass the soul more to seek after God, and to cry for pardon than it. If a man should see a pearl worth 100 pounds lie in a ditch, yet if he understood not the value of it, he would lightly pass it by. But if he once get the knowledge of it, he would venture up to the neck for it. So it is with the souls concerning the things of God. If a man once get an understanding of the worth of them, then his heart, nay, the very strength of his soul, runs after them, and he will never leave crying till he have them. The two blind men in the gospel, because they did certainly know that Jesus, who was going by them, was both able and willing to heal such infirmities as they were afflicted with, therefore they cried, and the more they were rebuked, the more they cried, according to Matthew 20 and verses 29 through 31. Third, the understanding being spiritually enlightened, hereby there is the way, as aforesaid, discovered, through which the soul should come unto God, which gives great encouragement unto it. It is else with a poor soul, as with one who hath a work to do. And if it be not done, the danger is great. If it be done, so is the advantage. But he knows not how to begin, nor how to proceed, and so through discouragement lets all alone, and runs the hazard. Fourth, the enlightened understanding sees largeness enough in the promises to encourage it to pray, which still adds to its strength to strength, as when men promise such and such things to all that will come for them. It is great encouragement to those that know that promises are made to come and ask for them. Fifth, the understanding being enlightened, way is made for the soul to come to God with suitable arguments, sometimes in a way of expostulation, as Jacob, according to Genesis 32 and verse 9. Sometimes in a way of supplication, yet not in a verbal way only, but even from the heart there is forced by the Spirit, through the understanding, such effectual arguments as moveth the heart of God. When Ephraim gets a right understanding of his own unseemly carriages towards the Lord, then he begins to bemoan himself, according to Jeremiah 31 and verses 18 through 20. And in bemoaning of himself, he used such arguments with the Lord that it affects his heart, draws out forgiveness, and makes Ephraim pleasant in his eyes through Jesus Christ our Lord. I have surely heard Ephraim bemoaning himself thus, saith God, Thou hast chastised me, and I was chastised, as a bullock unaccustomed to the yoke. Turn thou me, and I shall be turned, for thou art the Lord my God. Surely after that I was turned. I repented, and after that I was instructed, or had a right understanding of myself. I smote upon my thigh, I was ashamed, yea, even confounded, because I did bear the reproach of my youth. These be Ephraim's complaints and bemoanings of himself, at which the Lord breaks forth into these heart-melting expressions, saying, Is Ephraim my dear son? Is he a pleasant child? For since I spake against him, I do earnestly remember him still. Therefore my bowels are troubled for him. I will surely have mercy upon him, saith the Lord. Thus you see that as it is required to pray with the Spirit, so it is to pray with the understanding also. And to illustrate what hath been spoken by a similitude, set the case. There should come two a begging to your door. The one is a poor, lame, wounded, and almost starved creature. The other is a healthful, lusty person. These two use the same words in their begging. The one saith he is almost starved, so doth the other. But yet the man that is indeed the poor, lame, or maimed person, he speaks with more sense, feeling, and understanding of the misery that is mentioned in their begging than the other can do. And it is discovered more by his affectionate speaking, his bemoaning himself. His pain and poverty make him speak more in a spirit of lamentation than the other, and he shall be pitied sooner than the other by all those that have the least dram of natural affection or pity. Just thus it is with God.